This is your Chargers linebacker, Daiyan Henley, and you're tuning in with Chargers Unleashed.
Welcome to another edition of Chargers Unleashed. Jake Hefner and Dan Wolkenstein here with you from the LA Football Network. If this is your first time tuning in the show, make sure to hit that like, subscribe button on YouTube. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Dan Wolkenstein. It is June 22nd, 2026. OTAs are done. Minicamp is done. We get the next month off, essentially, until training camp fully kicks off for the 2026 NFL season.
Hallelujah.
Which means we have a lot to talk about over the next month or so. Improv live show that Dan and I decided to just literally piece together here within the last 30 minutes. And that's basically how we have kind of ridden by the seat of our pants as it relates to improvisation, as it relates to shows lately with Dan's schedule, with my schedule. I promise you we're going to be getting better at this as it relates to timing and just overall schedule and getting back on track of things. But today's topic we wanted to share with all of you because I think that this is a very, very big one as we head into this season. And it is obviously a lot of people are going to have their own opinions as it relates to certain topics on this subject.
And that's okay. And that's okay.
It is definitely subjective, depending on how you look at this. We're not quite into predicting the 53-man roster yet, but we are going to discuss breakout season candidates. Now, that does not mean we're talking about year two players only. We're literally talking anybody. You could pick anybody, or potential players on the hot seat as we head into training camp. This should be a fun topic of discussion, very juicy conversation in general. Dan Wolkenstein, before we get into everything, sir, have you come out of the fog that is home remodeling?
Actually, yes. And it feels so good. It feels so good, let me tell you. Out of the fog from home remodeling, out of the fog from all the sickness, out of the fog from just insanity over here. But that's not why folks are here, Jake. You know that. Folks are here because they want to talk all things Chargers, and we give the people what they want. We're so close to training camp, and I'm so jazzed for this episode because I think we got some interesting names. I think we got some names here that might be a shocker when it comes to either breakout or hot seat, but we'll get to those. So long way of answering it short. I'm great, Jake. Before we talk about our friends over at FanDuel, please enlighten us. How are you? How's the family? How was your Father's Day? Happy Father's Day to you, belated, and all the fathers out there. Keep killing it.
I finally joined the membership, or I finally got membership to the club.
Welcome.
My first Father's Day was very nice. Wife and I took our little one out to brunch yesterday morning. I was actually able to get into the pancake house like that. Normally, especially on the weekends, it's like at least a 30-minute wait. We literally got in when we walked in the door. So we actually beat the rush, which was nice. And then literally spent the afternoon just relaxing, not doing anything, enjoying ourselves, watching some nice television, good movies to catch up on. Then we went out to a nice dinner afterwards and then came back and watched episode 1 of season 3 of House of the Dragon. I'm a man of simple taste. I had a great day. It was great just spending time with my family like that.
Good. Well, welcome to the club, sir. Your daughter's lucky. Jake, let's talk about our friends over at FanDuel. Let's pay the bills.
Yeah, Dan, this is going to be a little bit of a different ad read. I couldn't keep talking about the Chargers being the Chargers' odds to win the AFC West, so I decided to flip it because they actually have new odds, and this is highlighting one Chargers player specific. Rookie defensive lineman Akeem Mesdor is currently sitting at plus 1,400 odds to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. A little bit bullish as it relates to the odds and the stacked defensive rookie class that he's going up against to win that. But if you believe that Mesdor is ready to make an immediate impact and become the next breakout star for the Los Angeles Chargers, you might want to jump in on that before those odds start moving. So go on over to FanDuel today. Use the promo code ChargersLAFB for your chance to win at FanDuel and let them know that Chargers Unleashed sent you.
So there's a lot of different ways we can go about this, Jake. Why don't we start with the breakout candidates? Because I think this will be a good one. We can get to the hot seat, which I think there's some names that are probably obvious. and some names that might be a little deep cuts. But before that, Jake, got to talk to the fellas. Folks in the chat, welcome. It has been a minute. I know it has been a little stale here in Chargers land for 2026, but we are so close to the craziness. We've got some fun things planned for you, I promise. Let's get to the comments. Let's go, USA. World Cup, baby. Knockout rounds.
Did you watch that game this past weekend?
I did not. I was busy. But I saw we won 2-0, and that's what matters. Matthew Dahl, what's up, guys? Evening chaps from Forgotten Locale. What's up? Happy belated Father's Day to you guys and all of the Bolt dads. Amen. BZRU6055. We need to get Thule extended and paid. Sounds like Thule's wanting it to happen. Sounds like Thule wants to stay in LA. I don't think we need to worry that much about it. John asks, Jake, I'll let you have this one. Talk about breakout season. You think QJ is
going over 1,000 yards? Well, let's remember, there was no wide receiver on the Chargers roster last year that was able to break 1,000 yards, and that was in a Greg Roman offense. Do I believe that Quentin Johnson has the potential to do it in this offense now? I do. I do. Again, I still see people, and I understand as it relates to, living up to expectations for being a first round pick and what have you. And if you think about the progression that Quentin Johnson has basically gone along during his tenure with the Chargers, especially that first year, when you go back and think, it wasn't Jim Harbaugh during his first year. It definitely wasn't, that type of offensive scheme that benefited him. They didn't do anything under Brandon Staley to really work to his advantages of what he did. And then you get Jim Harbaugh, who again got first-hand look during the TCU Michigan game the year before that Quentin Johnson came out and joined the Chargers of what he was all about. And I personally think that Sanjay Law has done a fantastic job of progressively over these last couple of seasons getting Quentin Johnson that much better for what he needs to do. And now you insert Mike McDaniel into this offense. I'm excited to see a number of different pass-catching weapons in this offense, Quentin Johnson being one of them. You obviously have heard those little sound bites of Mike McDaniel talking up Quentin Johnson and his potential for what he can do. I'm excited to see Ladd in this offense. I'm excited to see what Trey Harris and KLS are going to do in this offense. We've obviously talked ad nauseum about Brendan Thompson, the speed factor. He's got his Tyreek Hill, does Mike McDaniel. The tight end room, which was highlighted by Albert Breer. If none of you got a chance to read the Monday morning quarterback conversation, Albert Breer believes that the tight end room in general, as far as that entire group, could be the X factor for the Chargers this coming season for an offensive weapon, and not just highlighting one, the entire group. So there's so many players offensively to be excited about, going from what we had in a Greg Roman offense to shifting to Mike McDaniel. And the way that he's going to scheme guys to get open that plays to their strengths, it's exciting. I honestly wouldn't put a cap on any possibility because I think that there's so many things that are possible.
Yep. BZRU 6055. Our tight end room is ranked 4th right now. 4th? I mean, find me 3 that are better than it. I'm genuinely curious. I don't know.
I'll take 4th right now, considering what it had been the last couple of years.
I mean, yes.
100%. I'll take 4th.
100%. And it's funny. QJ and Ladd will have 1,000 yards. Hampton will lead the NFL in rushing. That is a bold take. But, again, we got McDaniel fever. I get it. I absolutely get it. All right, Jake, let's get to the breakout candidates. And again, this could go in a million different directions. And so when I was kind of thinking through the breakout candidates, right? There's some players where I could see them having their best season yet. And if we're talking inside the building, inside the Chargers media versus externally, maybe it's, competitors, or whether it's going to be some of the haters out there, I could argue Justin Herbert's going to have a breakout candidate. Going to be a breakout candidate. I mean, they've been blind to the 5-6 seasons he's had so far and all the records he's put up over the last, since his rookie season. But when it comes to breakout from external folks, people are gonna be like, "Oh, whoa! All of a sudden, Justin Herbert's way better now." Like, I don't think that's the case. I think it's just he's been him, right? Same with like a Lad, right? Like Lad, his rookie season had like 1,100 yards. Last year, he wasn't quite there, but there's a lot of other stuff going on. I could see him topping that, but is that a breakout candidate? I don't know. The first guy I want to talk about plays on defense, Jake, but I'll let you go first. Floor is yours. Who do you want to do first?
I thought you were going to nice little rope-a-dope there. I thought you were going to open with what we were planning on talking about.
Keep your toes. Keep your toes.
Appreciate that. No, I think that this would be an obvious one for anybody who's thinking about going into next season and saying like, oh, easy that this guy should be at the top of the list. It's Trey Harris. 100% it's Trey Harris. You look at the stat line for him last year, 30 receptions, 324 yards. But Dan, he did so much of the little things that just earned him a boatload of the snaps. And I think as you saw as the season went on, his usage in the offense, and especially when it came to like critical down situations that you saw Justin Herbert finding him targets on, you saw that trust and that camaraderie start to build.
Mm-hmm.
And did you happen to notice the little anecdote, the little line that Jim Harbaugh threw into, I think it was the last day of minicamp last week, when he was asked about the wide receivers? He said, "I believe that we've got 3 elite wide receivers.
Darius Davis, Ladder Conkey, Quentin Johnson."
Absolutely. Absolutely. No. You connect the tea leaves, you know who he's talking about. Trey Harris being one of the 3. We've heard Mike McDaniel talk about Trey Harris having a lot more juice, seeing him up close than even he realized when he was scouting him coming out of college. He was a big fan of his. Dan, I think all of the ways to use Trey Harris is multiple. We've talked about this plenty of different times before as far as having that versatility in the wide receiver room. There's so many different ways that you can use Trey Harris, inside, outside, especially when we're talking about guys that can go up and make the contested catch. He's great at that. I think that he is poised in this particular offense with Mike McDaniel in a scheme that is going to really work to his advantage in terms of getting him open, more opportunities. Can he go downfield when you need him to? Yes. Can he catch those routes over the middle? Yes, you can. I think this is an easy one as far as the potential for him to carve out a very, very big role, especially with, as of now, and me personally, I don't think that he's returning, but I don't think that any possibility of a return of Keenan Allen or not should impede Trey Harris moving the needle in a dramatic way this year.
Yeah, I think in terms of production, will he have a breakout season compared to last year? Yes, I fully agree. I do question how much, from a volume perspective, I mean, I think he's going to get way more than last year. But, because again, like Keenan's not there anymore right now. And so that's a lot of volume to spread around somewhere. But I'm curious in this offense if it benefits him as much as Quentin, as much as Lad, as much as a KLS or a Brennan Thompson, who have that kind of yak ability, the speed, kind of the slot monster type thing. I'm with you. I'm with you. I would love to see Quentin go off, right? Like get him his 10 touchdowns, 1,100 yards, let him get paid and shut everybody up. Like that'd be awesome. But Trey Harris seems to be kind of the heir apparent to Quentin Johnston. And so maybe it's a year early for the breakout candidate, in my opinion, for Trey Harris. But hell, if he goes off this year, like sign me up, please. Sign me up. Now, one guy who I think was a little forgotten, and sure, he had a little bit of a down year this past year, and some of that was seen on the field. Some of that was off the field as well. But I do wonder if folks are forgetting how good Daiyan Henley was in his first season under Jesse Minter. And for not playing at all his rookie season, basically, he splashed onto the scene his sophomore year. Then last year was riddled with sickness, injury, personal tragedy.
Terrific flu game, though.
The whole nine. And like, I don't know if you guys have all seen the pictures, but I saw some pictures floating around of what he looked like coming back from like how thin he was relatively coming back from his flu game versus what he looks like now at camp. It's a different beast. And so I think I saw Dan Henley kind of chirping on social media too about like, just wait till folks see what I'm going to do this season. People don't know what I went through last season. Like, we're all human, right? I think Daiyan's about to blow up. I think this is going to be his blow up season for sure. I'm talking all pro blow up season for Daiyan Henley. You think about what kind of Chris O'Leary brings to this defense, allowing them to be a little bit more aggressive, which Lord only knows how fun that's going to be. You look about the front end in front of him with the Mesidor, Mack, Tooley. The interior defensive line is incredibly deep. So if they're stacking, Daiyan's going to have some wide open lanes to smack some people, whether that's in the backfield, whether that's the quarterback, or whether that's to be able to roam and go do his thing in coverage. So year over year, I think this will be a massive leap for Daiyan Henley, and I think he will be even better than his sophomore season, and I think he will be in the all-pro discussion, if not starting, second string. I fully believe that, and I'm just waiting for it.
I guess if you were to label Daiyan's breakout year, that would have been in 2024. Huge production, 147 tackles, 84 of those being solo, had 8 passes defended during that season. He was a monster 2 years ago. And again, you come off of a year where Navarro Bowman just did wonders with that linebacker group. And it is a shame that in terms of all the things that Daiyan had to go through, the ups and downs, and still, even you could say, even given all the circumstances, it wasn't a terrible year by any stretch of the imagination, just down from what you saw the year prior. And now for the Chargers and specifically Chris O'Leary, you kind of go in the same type of fashion as far as who picks up the reins for Navarro Bowman, obviously having to step away from coaching for personal reasons of his own, for what he wanted to do. So what does Chris O'Leary do? He fills the void with another former player in Sean Spence, a guy who was part of his coaching staff during his time at Western Michigan. Sean Spence now coming in to man the linebacker group. And again, I'm really bullish on this linebacker group in general. I think for how they overperformed last year, given who wasn't there and a lot of guys that stepped up, I think that there's so much juice to that. But in terms of Daiyan being labeled as one of the leaders of this team, and as you mentioned, Dan, with just coming back fully healthy, and obviously him talking about how motivated he is coming into this season, there's so many elements that tie around it for it to make sense that Daiyan is going to have a huge year in this defense. No question about it.
Jake, we'll do snake draft. So you get to go again. Next breakout candidate for you. And I know this is a guy that a lot of folks were questioning when Joe Ortiz drafted him a year ago.
Did they know? No.
The reach of the draft. I know, yeah.
I'm kidding. No, Jamari Caldwell, I think, is poised for a breakout year. And I think that when you look at, first of all, the defensive line, the interior defensive line right now is stacked with talent. And as you look at what Joe Ortiz has done every single year that he has been the GM for the last 3 years, you go through the Justin Aboigbes, who was selected in round 4, Jamari Caldwell in round 5 the year after, and now Nick Barrett in round 5 this year, constantly churning that interior defensive line group. And you have it manned right now by Tierra Tart and Dalvin Tomlinson. There is some serious juice on the interior defensive line. I think it's a great opportunity for Jamari Caldwell, given how he played and stepped up last year in some big time moments. Again, not the hugest season, and he wasn't even designated as the starter, but in rotation, he got plenty of opportunities to make impact plays. And now going away from Deshaun Hand not being there, who was one of your better pass rushing interior defensive linemen that you had, that's only going to elevate the opportunities for Jamari Caldwell. And you've heard guys like specifically Mike Alston talk up how much they've loved Jamari Caldwell since he came into camp last year. It seemed like he literally had a leg up on so many people and how quickly he was picking up everything defensively. You now give that a full offseason for him to come into with an added opportunity in terms of who's there, who's not there, some added reps for him come game time. They're going to use him heavy in the defensive line rotation. I guarantee you that for what you need, especially when it comes to those third down situations. So I'm excited to see the bump for him and the type of impact that he can make, because, I mean, you saw what he did in college. Good against the run and the pass, but he showed some serious juice getting after the quarterback last year and being able to be a viable piece to a defensive line that really didn't have that many guys that could get after the quarterback. He was one of them. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do in year 2.
Yeah, I mean, a year ago in limited snaps, right? He wasn't starting, but he was playing 20, 30 snaps a game. Again, 15 pressures on the season. I could see that easily getting into the 20s this season for sure. And his impact was felt. And I think the hard part about breakout season for an interior defensive lineman is like, what does that look like? Because I don't know if we're going to be able to see the breakout season, quote unquote, on the stat sheet. But I think we're going to see way more of Jamari Caldwell impacting plays, because I think he's going to be on the field more. Because I don't think they'll be able to take him off at times. And so this feels like one of those glue type things where, what I was talking about before, the guys up front are going to be man of the fort to where the guys in back have clear lanes. I mean, they're going to be disruptive the entire way. Real quick, Jake, we have folks in the chat. Nobody's talking about Alec Ingold, which is a good name. But again, I don't know how this would be a breakout candidate in terms of like, what does that mean for Alec Ingold? But
impact player, 100%. Let's not forget, Alec Ingold, while labeled as a fullback in Miami, played more snaps at tight end last year than he did as a fullback.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see something replicated a lot like that in this particular type of offense. So impact player for Alec Ingold, 100%.
Yeah. TD says Elson very much knows what he's looking for in D lineman. Yeah. Tomlinson, again, I don't know. I can't say breakout season because he's been very good. But if we were just going off year over year, I think he's going to blow his 2025 numbers out of the water. Yeah. Shout out to Elson because, man, one name that we did not discuss, James Wagner, I see you in the comments. Same wavelength. Stay tuned. JLM, Jake, Njoku having an elite quarterback. Could you see him have a breakout season? What is his best season statistically? I'm curious. Could you see that?
I can. Here's the reason why I'm going to say I can't see it, even though I will say overall it's going to be extremely productive. And it's the same reason that you could kind of even make the argument for people that are in the comments saying like, oh, who's going to have 1,000 yards in this? There's one football to go around. I mean, again, we talked about this in previous shows. Look at the overhaul that you have done offensively in one single season when we're talking about adding to the wide receiver room, adding basically just overhauling the entire tight end room outside of Aranda Gadsden. I mean, look at the impacts that you have made just in that group alone. And then look what you add from a running back standpoint. You're getting Omari and Hampton back. Kamani Vidal really proved his worth at the times when Omari and Hampton was down. Obviously, Najee Harris went down for the season early in the year last year. Kamani Vidal stepped up and he carried that banner for a majority of the season. I'll tell you, when those two were on the field healthy, it was nice seeing them complement one another. Now add Keaton Mitchell to that speed element.
That's a name.
As another running back of that stable, I mean, who are you putting the balls in the hands of? Honestly. And it's a great question to ask because this is not Greg Roman's offense anymore. This is Mike McDaniel's offense. And that's what really juices everything up to say the creativity, Justin Herbert, getting the ball out faster. Like, there are so many different possibilities in this offense right now. Justin Herbert has never had a better supporting cast than he has going into this season.
You know, I went to looking at Njoku. I went to his stats over his career, and for as elite as I think lots of us think that he has been throughout his career, his best season was 2023, where he had 88 receptions for 975 yards. But
pretty good.
That's pretty good. But if you look at the other seasons, Jake, last year, 293 yards. The year before that, 505 yards. The year before that was at almost 1,000-yard season. He had 628 yards the year before that, 475 before that, 279 before that. I mean, his number, I don't want to say pedestrian because I know context matters and where he's played, who his quarterbacks have been. But having an elite quarterback absolutely makes a difference.
What year was that you said he had his best season?
2023. Now, I wouldn't have thought Njoku, but if I'm looking at his last two seasons or the average of his career, yeah, sign me up. Good call. Now, the only thing going against him is the fact that they have one of the best tight end rooms in the league. And so giving him a bunch of those targets means you're not giving Gadsden the targets. Meaning Kohler's not going to be getting all the targets. Alec Ingold is getting them. I mean, think about, you talk about the weapons, right? It's a blessing and a curse. I mean, you could go, 7, 8, 9 deep of weapons that Justin could choose from?
Because you're thinking along the lines of what I was saying there, Dan. 2023 was his best season. Who was surrounding or who was even in contention to be another number one option aside from David Njoku in that year? Here were the wide receivers for the Cleveland Browns in 2023.
Was Amari Cooper there?
He was.
Okay.
But
that was it,
David Bell, Amari Cooper, Marcus Goodwin, Elijah Moore, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and Cedric Tillman. And mind you, some of those were rookie seasons.
And who was the quarterback?
Deshaun Watson.
That was
Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
And he still had that type of a season. But again, he was essentially the number one option offensively for them. Now you look at the Chargers roster with Justin Herbert.
What option is he? Honestly,
I mean, my God.
What option is he?
Stack rank it. Like
Ladd, let's just say Ladd 1, Quentin, in no particular order. Ladd, Quentin, Hampton.
I personally still put Gadsden as tight end 1 out of this group, even with the addition of Njoku.
At best, he's the fourth most.
You're looking at maybe a 4 fringe 5. And again, that's not even going through the rest of the wide receiver groups. That's not putting Trey Harris above him. That's not putting the Charlie Kohlers or the Alec Ingalls or the Keaton Mitchells in that group at all. There's one football. So not to say that David Njoku is not going to make an impact on this offense, because I definitely believe he will. But for a better season than what he had in 2023, that's steep in this offense.
But again, if we're going off of the last two seasons where he had a combined total of roughly 800 yards, I can see it.
Can only go up.
Comeback season for sure.
Comeback season. There we go.
I think he's going to come back from 293 and 4 touchdowns 100%. Yes. Jake, next one. And this one I feel like most Chargers fans are pretty bullish.
This might be the lowest hanging fruit of any candidate on this list.
Yep. I don't know if there's a candidate more suited for a breakout season than this one. I mean, Omari and Hampton has all of the ingredients for, it could be an MVP season. It could be running back of the year. It could be rushing leader. It could be triple, whatever. Like, nothing would surprise me with combining Omarion Hampton, the player, Mike McDaniel, the coach, the scheme, the talent around him, Jim Harbaugh identity, like all of it. Add in the offensive line being back. You bring in a center, new offensive line coach. This is an easy one. Like, if he went for 1,400 yards and 15 touchdowns, wouldn't shock me.
You see how big he came into minicamp looking like? I mean, he was a big man in general, but he put on some size in this offseason, for sure. Put on some size. I don't think that you'd be hard-pressed to tell me anybody outside of Justin Herbert that's going to benefit more from Mike McDaniel's offense than this guy right here. He didn't get a chance. Honest. He did not. Touche, Dan. Touche. He did not get an opportunity to play with Rashawn Slater last year. Barely got any opportunities with Joe Alt. In front of a makeshift offensive line. Misses a huge chunk of the season last year. The running back room of how Mike McDaniel is going to utilize it. And when you just look at the resume that's already been put forth from guys like Devon Achane and what he was able to do in Miami, Mike McDaniel wants to replicate the production of that as much as he can with Omarion Hampton. And honestly, there's more potential to do it just because of the size. He might not have the speed that Devon Achane does. Very few people do.
Yeah.
But in terms of the overall, he's not slow. But now moving everything from Greg Roman's blocking scheme offensively and Mike Devlin's blocking scheme offensively to a Butch Berry and a Mike McDaniel-led zone blocking type of offense where Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt have both raved about in in terms of going out there and just kicking the ass of the opposing guy that you're supposed to block on that particular play. Trust me. When it's going to be in those nitty-gritty games that you're going to see the Chargers in at some point during the year, because their schedule ain't no cakewalk. They're going to need Omarion Hampton big time this season. I think you're going to see this as a huge bump for him, not just from the standpoint from weighing the unfortunate injury luck that he weighed and the lack of stats that he was able to put up last year. I think you're really going to see why he was so coveted for the Chargers when they selected him last season as the number 1 overall pick. Again, find me someone that is going to benefit more with the elements around them than Omarion Hampton outside of Justin Herbert.
James Wagner, how lethal is the red zone going to be for Mike McDaniel and all of his new toys? Yeah, that's a fun one to think about. You know what I was thinking about when you're talking about Omarion Hampton? Was like, imagine opposing defenses, because there's another comment in here that got me thinking about this. If you're an opposing defense, this is going to take me here in a second. Who do you take away? And I don't think it matters. I think that's by design. Like, I think the Chargers would be fine if you double teamed anyone. They'd be like, sweet, that's one less play that's going to be able to guard whoever else. Right? Like, if you're opposing defense, you probably are trying to take away Hampton and make him one-dimensional. Maybe. Like, I'm just... But what I was getting at was, opposing defenses, right? You're seeing Omarion Hampton who just like bludgeoning you. And you got the Jim Harbaugh mentality, right? The identity, kick him in the face, whatever. And then when he leaves, you got to worry about Keaton Mitchell, who's like a blur. Like, woof. That sucks. Like, you can't take a break, right? Like, yeah, all right, they're not running here. We're good. Don't worry about the running back. You can keep a light box. Like, that's the part that's fun. But yeah, imagine the red zone. You got Hampton, Gadsden, Njoku, Kohler.
I mean, you can make an entire show based around that. I don't care what package of personnel you want to, like, we could go through it all. Like, tell me what, are they in 11 personnel, 12 personnel? Like, what is it? We'll literally go through and try to eliminate. But you know what I love most about that last comment, Dan? Put it back up on the screen just so everybody is fully aware of what I'm about to talk about. 2 years ago, you could not even say anything like this for the Chargers.
It would be a very easy answer.
2 years ago, with the Houston Texans game and that loss in the playoffs being the cherry on top of what it was for that season, you only had one player offensively that could break man coverage, and that was Ladd McConkey. Nobody else was able to do anything. So it was very easy for opposing defenses to take your second, your third, and your fourth, and your fifth option away from you because you only had one that could actually produce. And now you get a question like this. Crazy where we were just 2 years ago. And to now say that with everything that's been injected into this team, not only from a player standpoint, from a coaching standpoint as well.
A couple others here on the breakout candidates, and then before we get to the hot seat, which this one will be also interesting. So before we get to that, folks in the comments, let us know, who do you have in your hot seat category for this Chargers team? Who is on the hot seat of a roster bubble, starting job? Define it as you want. Jake, someone in the comments earlier mentioned this player, and this is one of your guys, and I totally get why this would be a breakout season candidate. The only thing keeping it from happening would just be the guys in front of him. But the talent is there.
Yes. 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 RJ Mickens. First of all, this safety group in general is absolutely loaded. It's on lock. When Dan and I were talking about it, because someone decided to really turn the last live show that we did into a semi-early 53-man roster prediction. So we literally started kind of going down, and we started with the defense, and safety was actually the start of this, to say like, okay, let's go back a year. Let's remember how many defensive backs the Chargers actually kept. They kept a lot. They kept 12. They kept 7 corners and 5 safeties. And the wildest part about the conversation, you had to remind yourself, Tony Jefferson did not make the final 53-man roster last year. Insane. When it was all said and done, before he ended up getting signed back and elevated to the roster. Now we don't have to worry about that. Expect another huge preseason for Tony Jefferson for sure. You know he's going to be lit for that. But RJ Mickens contributing in the way that he did last season, again, not huge numbers, but for a guy who was coming in as a 6th-round rookie to step up in a rotation and to finish as one of the 3 safeties in top 30 coverage for the Chargers. Chargers had 3 safeties last year that were top 30 in coverage. It was Derwin James, Tony Jefferson, and RJ Mickens. And believe it or not, RJ Mickens was higher than Tony Jefferson. RJ Mickens actually finished around 17th. If I remember correctly, Jefferson finished, I think, 28th. But you look at those games where he really contributed and ended up coming with key interceptions that you're saying like, oh my God, like this is a 6th-round rookie that came in and made an impact like this. And he's already being very much talked about from guys that are keeping their ear to the ground in training camp right now. I think what you look at what Adam Fuller has specifically done with that safety group. And again, here's the crazy part. When Chris O'Leary 2 years ago was the safeties coach for this team, that Chargers safety group finished 3rd. And you think to yourself, like, God, I'll take 3rd as far as just overall production. They were 3rd in the league as far as the safety group goes under Chris O'Leary. Chris O'Leary takes the job over at Western Michigan. And what happens? You bring in Adam Fuller from Florida State. And not only do they exceed expectations, they finished 1st overall as a total group in the safety category. Crazy. We go into that coaching discussion again as far as X factors go. RJ Mickens in this particular system, with Chris O'Leary now at the reins, Adam Fuller coming back as the safeties coach, the surrounding veteran presence that you have with Derwin James and Tony Jefferson, I think that they are going to fall in love with the same reasons that they loved him when they drafted him. And again, for a guy who was considered a steal, who was projected to go rounds before that.
Yep.
You can really take advantage of the ways that you can play and put RJ Mickens in a specific type of coverage and system. I think that he's ready to take that next level jump for himself. I'm excited for him.
TD says, I feel like one of Molden or TJ might be a late cut in this training camp, especially if Genesis shows he can tackle. All right, so let's cut this one through. No way Molden gets cut. Not a chance. That was a trade from Joe Ortiz. Not happening. Genesis, I doubt gets cut because he was just drafted pretty high. TJ, I mean, they're playing with fire. Maybe they have a sweetheart deal just knowing he's not going anywhere and they'll figure it out from like a roster swizzling thing. But like, I'm not comfortable with that. That safety group is RJ Mickens, Genesis, TJ, Molden.
The odd man out is Kendall Williamson, and that's for special teams purposes. But I think
that would be tough.
Yeah, I think you see the exact. If we're making a bold prediction right now in June, before final cuts are literally 2 months away, I don't think anything changes with the same amount of safeties that you kept last year to who you keep this year. The only difference is who makes the roster this year. Tony Jefferson is making the roster this year. I don't think there's any question about that, given the impact that he made to the team last year. I agree with Dan. I don't think that Elijah Molden's going anywhere. Derwin, RJ Mickens, Genesis Smith. Those are your five.
Well, Derwin they have as a slot corner.
Again, it's almost like you keep 8 corners in reality from the way that you could use Derwin James. I honestly see that number for the defensive backs staying very, very similar to the amount that they kept last year.
Genesis, RJ, TJ, Molden. That's 4. And then the 5th one would be Kendall.
You'd be the 6th one.
The 5th.
Again, if you still label Derwin James.
I'm putting Derwin in corner for this discussion. And then Derwin at slot corner would be over. I think it'd be between Tony Jefferson and Kendall Williamson. And you're going to have a discussion with Ryan Ficken. And again, I don't want Tony Jefferson to not make the team. I'm just saying that's the discussion they'll have. And I don't think that Tony Jefferson loses out. That's why you draft rookies who could play special teams. That's the whole point. It's the whole point. Dean Leonard also hot seat candidate.
Ooh, really?
If on the same lens, we're talking corners and DBs.
I think there's a little bit more value with Dean Leonard on special teams than there is Kendall Williamson right now.
I'm not saying there's not. I'm saying there's a shit ton of corners. There's only so many roster spots. That's
great. Can't wait to hear your explanation in a couple minutes.
Last one, Jake. Also drafted a couple years ago. People writing him off. Last year, took a step forward. You're hoping to see the same thing from a Kennard this season. Kyle Kennard is not a breakout candidate for us, but one who is on Jake's list is a one Justin Eboigbe, Jake. The floor is yours.
For very similar reasons of why I had Jamari Caldwell on this list. Justin Eboigbe, I think, is going to get an elevated opportunity for himself. I think you had the Eboigbe breakout game last year, as far as when he was able to contribute. But obviously, you saw the best of Justin Eboigbe, essentially redshirted in his rookie season, didn't get an opportunity to contribute that much. I don't think it was from a standpoint of lack of talent. I think that who the Chargers had along that defensive line at that point in time, it was just too stacked for opportunities and guys that you couldn't really afford to take off the field. And then you look at year 2 for Justin Eboigbe, gets a little bit more familiar with this defense, a little bit more familiar with Mike Elston, starts contributing, and again, has that same type of pass rushing capability as an interior defensive lineman that Jamari Caldwell has. I honestly think that for both of these guys coming into this season, it's a huge opportunity for them. Because again, when you look at Tyler Tartan, you look at Dalvin Tomlinson, and the rest of the guys that are along that defensive line, and depending on what type of system that you're in, because we know that at some point in time, Khalil Mack is going to occupy one of those interior spots. And whenever they're trying to get, Mesidor, Tooley, and Mack on the field at the exact same time, it's going to be limited as far as the opportunities go. But as it relates to Jamari Caldwell and more specifically Justin Eboigbe for this conversation, I think you're going to see a huge amount of opportunities for them, specifically because of what their bread and butter is in terms of getting after the quarterback. So when it comes to those third down plays, I think you're going to see a lot more trust and confidence from Mike Elston to utilize them in certain packages. So Eboigbe had the breakout game last year. I think he's now poised to make a lot more noise as it relates to the entirety of the season and the amount of snaps that he's going to get on a game-by-game basis.
All right, so we got a couple folks in the comments talking about the ratio of corner to safety. And then we got folks saying Dean Leonard is special teams ace. I agree. I love Dean Leonard. So is Jazir Taylor, by the way. And you saw what happened with him. there's a lot of special teams aces that we can discuss if you really want to, right? Like you got Del'Shawn Phillips, special teams ace, Kendall Williamson, special teams ace. I mean, hell, Thule was a special teams ace before he was too good on defense to not be taken out.
Mind you, Del'Shawn Phillips stepped up when essentially there wasn't a special teams ace for the Chargers when they were struggling early on in the season.
So real quick, because we're going to get to the other stuff, which I think is more important, more pressing for today. But real fast, I understand Dean Leonard's abilities on special teams. And this is without Derwin James as a corner.
So just so we're clear, this is you kicking off the hot seat discussion.
This is me kicking out the hot seat discussion.
Okay, great. Good. I can't wait to hear this.
Your cornerback room right now is Tarheeb Still, Cam Hart, Nico Reed, Dante Jackson, Eric Rogers, Avery Smith, UDFA, and Dean Leonard. And if you want to put Derwin in that discussion, which let's say it is, Derwin, Tarheeb, Cam, Nico, Dante, Eric Rogers, Dean Leonard, Avery Smith. That's 8. 8 corners. They're not keeping 8. Promise you that. Probably not keeping 7 either, if they're going to keep 4 or 5 safeties. So you tell me who's going to miss out on this list. Give me 2 names. Who doesn't make this list?
On the screen right now?
Right now. Give me 2 names. Who does not make the team?
Nobody. They're keeping all these guys. I'm telling you right now.
No, but Derwin is on the list. I'm saying so the Derwin's on, so 1 has to come off. So I'm saying you got to take 2.
Again, you may call this a cop-out if you want to, but I think that the corner and the safety room is pretty much on lock. Unless Avery Smith comes in and absolutely has a preseason that mimics the like of Nico Reed or Eric Rogers, I don't see anything changing as it relates to keeping 12 defensive backs on the team next year, which will make it a juicy discussion when we get down to the final 53. And again, the reason I say that is go back and look at, you just take the Eric Rogers game in a bubble. For as good as he was, and again, he actually set some records for being like the first defensive back in the last 3 years for a guy who came in undrafted, and for the production that he was able to put in that Saints preseason game. Not even talking about the 2 interceptions that he had, but in terms of how many targets and how many receptions he allowed in a single preseason game. He was the first corner in like 3 years who was undrafted to have higher marks like that. And the fact that he injured himself literally in the second to the last play of the game, and the Chargers still kept him on the final 53 because even they saw, for a guy who has those type of dimensions, plays the way that he did, took advantage of an opportunity. And again, I go back to this, Dan. The Chargers did not sign a free agent cornerback in free agency, didn't draft one. I think that their expectations are extremely high for Nico Reed and Eric Rogers coming into their second year.
Okay,
so in relation to that, unless Avery Smith is the one that ends up coming in and surprising everybody, I don't see that cornerback room or the safety room changing going into next year.
Okay, so real quick, let's just to do this number game, right? Because let's just say there's 12. I'll give you 12, okay? Ignore Derwin on the right. Genesis, Kendall, Elijah, RJ, Tony. Purchase. So are you keeping 4 or 5? 5. Okay, so you're keeping basically all of them except Purchase, and Derwin's the corner, right?
No, sorry, I keep putting Derwin in this category. In the way that you're slicing this, in this case, I'm keeping 4.
Tony, Molden, Mickens, Genesis.
Right.
Okay, so that's 4. And then if we go to corners, add Derwin to this.
Mm-hmm.
Derwin.
Add Derwin and take out Avery Smith. And there you go.
1, 2,
and I'm keeping everybody else.
6, 7. So that's 11 that we're keeping total. 7 here plus the 4 safeties.
Yeah. Wait, no. Yes. Sorry.
7 here. And then your 7 that you're keeping means you're not keeping Avery Smith, but you are keeping Dean Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
And then Eric Rogers, Nika Reed, all these guys are staying.
Right.
So is Kendall Williamson off the team?
Most likely.
Again, special teams ace, right? That's the trouble that we're in.
I understand that, but you're making the exact same type of argument for Dean Leonard.
No, I know.
And if we're weighing the contributions that both of them have made since they've been playing with this team, I would take Dean over Kendall if you force me to make a decision.
That's going to be tough.
It is going to be tough. 53-man roster is going to suck this year. I know we feel like we say that every year, but damn, this is being one of the most deepest and talented rosters on both sides of the football that the Chargers have had in some time. It's really going to suck come 53-man roster cut.
All right. This isn't a fun discussion, but I think it needs to be had. Hot seat candidates. Some of these names I think are obvious. Some of these names probably not. Like a Dean Leonard, a Kendall Williamson, right? That the underbelly of the roster that is such a glue to this team. And that's why like the practice squad is so important, right? Like just because they're hot seat candidates doesn't necessarily mean they're off the team per se, but off the starting squad, off the 53. This is kind of where we're going, where this is put up or shut up time for different reasons. So let's get some of these names. I think everyone low-hanging fruit would be Bud Dupree, right? His reputation precedes him in the locker room for sure, because he's a glue guy. But in terms of like the stat sheet, in terms of what we see, that's a tough room to make it in right now. Junior Colson, 2 years of nothing, battled through injuries, lots of things. That's a tough position group to make it in right now, considering who was drafted. Darius Davis. Hello, Brennan Thompson. Yes, he has been a great returner when healthy, but that's an asterisk right now because he wasn't great last year. And you bring in a dude who is 4.2 something speed. Couple of name hot seat. You can probably put Quentin in that. Not necessarily for, well, no, you're too soon. I'm sorry. You're too soon because they picked him up.
I was going to say.
You're too soon. There's a couple other names. Go ahead. I'll let you have a couple.
You would definitely add Scott Matlock to this list for sure. That might be, along with Bud Dupree, kind of the lowest hanging fruit, just in terms of guys that you just don't see as far as their role in this team moving forward, and whether that being just by overall performance or, you know, the writing kind of being on the wall. More specifically for Bud Dupree, I think, again, we've talked about it, the elevation. I think the opportunities that Kyle Kernard are going to get, him coming into training camp a lot bigger, I think are going to be more. And then you look at Nadeem Tucker, just for obvious reasons, with playing under Chris O'Leary and as a productive season as he had in Western Michigan, I think you're going to see every opportunity for him to, you know, produce in this particular defense. So I think when push comes to shove, by the time that we get to the end of August, I think Bud Dupree is not going to end up making this roster. And you have to remember, especially when we're going to transition now to Junior Colson. I don't see Junior Colson being cut prior to this season. But to Dan's point, I see it more of a hot seat situation for him, being that you need to produce in year 3, given where you were drafted, given the lack of playing time that you've had since you were selected in the 3rd round. There's a lot on Junior Colson's shoulders coming into this year. Dan has the slide up right now. I think what we need to remember, the Chargers, when we're talking about roster building last year, kept 5, where was it at here? Kept 4 linebackers last year. It was Daiyan Henley, Denzel Perryman, Marlo Wax. Delshon Phillips did not make the final 53-man roster last year. Junior Colson was put on IR before the season even started. So what's that competition going to look like now? If it was me and I'm looking at this, and I'm saying as far as if the Chargers, now again, this is where it's going to get tough. If you keep that 4, that means you keep another defensive back. But if you end up keeping one more in this linebacker group, it's going to fluctuate everything. Because I would say right now, Delshon Phillips has definitely earned a spot on this roster, given what he did on special teams.
I think the 4 on the left are locks.
Yep. I think Troy Dye has turned into one of the most valuable pieces, or depth pieces, excuse me, as far as a guy who can step into a starter's role if you need it, if there's injuries, and a guy who's just been a great rotational piece for this team the last couple of years. And Junior Colson, yes, does he need to show something during training camp? 100% he does.
I think he could get cut. I think he could get cut. This is crazy to say.
He could. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think that
5.
You may if Junior Colson ends up producing, I think you end up keeping 5. I really do.
But already that's a hot
I know it's I understand that. I understand that.
So if he doesn't produce,
then I side with you, Dan. But we're not there yet. I'm tipping my cap because here's where Junior Colson still has the advantage. The system still hasn't changed for him for what he knew in Michigan. Chris O'Leary is virtually keeping that same system for himself. So the mental part for him to adapt to everything, it's not going to be as much of, a curve as everybody else may be learning on.
No, man. I don't know. Honestly, you could say the same thing to left 4. All 4 of those guys.
I get that. It's put up or shut up time for Junior Colson one way or another. I'm not disagreeing with that. But this is what you're going to have to weigh, especially if Junior Colson ends up showing out great during the preseason.
1 or 2 of these guys aren't going to make the roster.
Exactly.
On this screen, 1 or 2 of these guys aren't going to make it. And then if we go to the edge room, same thing. They're not keeping 6. I promise you that.
They kept 5 last year, just in case anyone's keeping count. They kept 5 last year. I think they do the exact same with this group this coming year.
Who else?
You mentioned Darius Davis for obvious reasons. Again, I think that the writing is starting to be on the wall there as it relates to the return abilities. You mentioned, you mentioned Brennan Thompson. You've seen kind of what the Chargers were doing last year during the times when Darius Davis was injured in terms of mixing in KLS on returns. Now you add Keaton Mitchell, who can be another type of return guy if you need it. Again, it's interesting to see something like this. And again, I always laugh at this because when you think about, it was 2 years ago, if I'm right, Dan. Darius Davis, who is barely inserted in this offense, all of a sudden goes out and has a 2-touchdown game. Everybody's going wild, especially Dan, because he's been saying like, hey, insert some more speed into a Greg Roman offense. And it finally happened. And then poof, disappeared. You didn't see it ever again. And essentially his contributions were limited to return duties only. Looking at this wide receiver room, it's an uphill battle for him because I think that the skill sets that you have in Thompson, Harris, Ladd, Quentin, and KLS, they just do, especially when we're talking downfield stuff, they just do that better than Darius Davis does. So I don't know. I would honestly be surprised if we get to the end of training camp and you still see this group of 6 make the final roster.
And again, you just go down the list. There's not enough spots for the guys that we're all thinking are locks. Put Alec Ingold as a running back. That's 4. Let's say 3 tight ends. That's 7. That's okay. 7 plus this is 6. That's 13.
Here's the beauty part, Dan, is that the Chargers obviously labeled Scott Matlock as their fullback last year.
He's not even on the freaking slide deck that we have.
Hang on a second. This is where you get some flexibility because you kept 4 tight ends last year. You kept Tyler Conklin, Will Dissly, Tugger Fist, and Aronde Gatson. Those were your 4 tight ends. Now you have that fullback flex spot essentially because now you can keep 4 tight ends and you have your fullback. So you do have some flexibility there.
Did they keep 5 or 6 receivers to start?
You kept 6. It was Keenan Allen, Darius Davis, Trey Harris, Quentin Johnson, KLS, and Ladd. So you kept 6 last year.
And the running backs were
running backs,
Najee.
it was just Omarion, Najee, and Hassan Haskins. Woo, has that elevated.
Jeez.
You know what's wild? It's again. Come on, Eva Dell didn't even make the 53-man roster last year. I think we forget
and
that.
Rocket Sanders.
Shut up, Dan.
Sorry.
Do not piss me off. We went an hour into this without a Rocket Sanders reference, and you just brought the mood down for a second. God damn it.
Any offensive linemen on this list?
I mean, the Chargers can't logistically keep 14 on the 53-man roster, even though that's the amount that they have under contract.
No, but like I'm saying, like hot seat, where like a surprise name.
I mean, I know that it feels like we've been talking about Trey Pickens as a hot seat candidate for so long now.
I know.
But when you start looking at depth for what you need, not talking about starters,
you need them.
You need them. I'd be interested to see how Ben Cleveland's going to come into this. I think a lot of people forget that he was signed very, very late last year. I'm really excited to see what Travis Burke is going to do. I think if you were to look at immediate competition for Trey Pipkins to say, or Trevor Penning for that matter, probably more likely though for Trey Pipkins to say like, oh, which guy is possibly going to push Pipkins off the roster? Yeah, I could definitely see Travis Burke doing that. Again, an asshole for the best possible reasons when you're an offensive lineman. Just comes in just wanting to knock people on their ass. If Isaiah World was going to be playing this year, Dan, I would say more definitively that you can make a case that Trey Pipkins probably wouldn't be making the roster. But the fact that Isaiah World's coming to this and probably going to be on a redshirt season because of the injury, I still think for depth purposes, again, you've reloaded this offensive line so well compared to what it was a year ago.
True.
You've added more to the underbelly. You've added more depth. Joe Ortiz does not want to hear another word as far as not investing in the offensive line for a long time. But yeah, I still think when it comes to offensive line, because you keep 10
ish plus or minus one.
I think that Trey Pipkins ends up making it into that group 100%.
Anybody else in the chat? Let us know. Anybody else that we missed from a hot seat perspective or from a breakout season perspective? I saw in the chat Hassan Haskins may be gone. I mean, again,
he's running back 4. He's running back 4 right now.
Five if we're putting Ingold in the running back situation.
True. That's true. And apologies. They would keep 8 offensive linemen, most likely, depending on how they want to roster construct. Again, this was the 8 that you kept last year. Joe Alt, Mekhi Becton, Bradley Bozeman, Deculus, Andre James, Zion Johnson, Trey Pipkins, and Jamari Sawyer.
Wait, that's 7 or 8?
That's 8, because a reminder, Rashawn Slater technically wasn't part of that group because he was already injured prior to the season starting.
Plus they had... okay.
Trevor Penning was not part of the team during the final 53-man roster cuts.
Yeah, that was way later in the season.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about Matlock. We've talked about Darius Davis. Talked about Bud Dupree. We've talked about the corner safety room in general. Some of those special teams glue guys I think are going to be tough. Are there any players... I mean, Junior Colson was discussed already too. Like, is there anyone we're missing?
Yeah, we're not talking surprise cuts. We're talking guys that are definitively on the hot seat right now.
Yeah. I think that covers it.
I think that's pretty well covered right now, honestly. That secondary group is on lock to me. I think the linebacker group's pretty easy to understand, who's on the hot seat and who's pretty much looking good as far as the roster goes. Same thing for interior defensive line. I think even more definitively for the edge group. It's offense that really there's a lot of questions for.
Man, whether it's edge, linebacker, in my opinion, corner safety, or receiver, all of those have hot seat or roster bubble competition. It's wild. It's wild. This was fun, Jake. We got through a ton here. Anything else we want to go through with our great friends Almost 400.
Fire the questions off in the chat by any means. Anybody that you feel that we missed, anybody of your guys' own opinions as far as breakout candidates, hot seat candidates, what have you, or just plain old-fashioned American football talk that we are not going to really get much coverage on over the next month until training camp starts in the middle of July. But let's talk about it. What do we got?
You alluded to it. Someone said, this is why I laugh when people say we need to bring back Keenan. I don't see him walk through that door.
I don't either. Now, if you were to tell me if it came down to, if the Chargers were going to keep 6 wide receivers and it meant the difference of Keenan Allen or Darius Davis, it's like, okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense. But I think that the roster, the way that it's constructed right now, I think if they were going to bring Keenan Allen back, you may have heard a little bit more about it. I know that we've heard Joe Ortiz talk about them being in communication. We've heard obviously from Keenan Allen's side that he wouldn't play anybody with the Chargers, or he would end up retiring. I think as it stands right now, I just don't see a Keenan Allen return in the future.
And honestly, this is the sad part, or just the weird part, honestly, is why would they bring him? To me, they bring him back if someone gets hurt. Otherwise, give me the reason they bring him back with this current receiver room. Like, you need a possession receiver. Do you? You need a guy that can get open at any time. Do you? Like, who are you going to take away? I don't know. I just don't know what the right reason is for keeping him. And that's weird to say about Keenan Allen, man. Like, that's just weird. It's just weird. Let's see. Here we go. Slaughter can play center guard, unlike Andre James. Saves you roster spot on offensive line.
Similar to Sawyer as far as what he's capable of doing. He can be that tackle guard complement that you want as far as his versatility goes. I get it. But it doesn't mean that you're going to keep any less offensive linemen, especially based on how they end up performing in camp. I think that 8, as far as that starting mark, sounds reasonable. And again, look how much turnover and injuries you had throughout the season last year. I think they're going to make sure that they're a little bit more well prepared for that. Now, the good thing is that from a standpoint of personnel already as it stands right now, it's a hell of a lot better than what it looked going into training camp last year. Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
How many quarterbacks, and why is it only 2?
I think that just when you're talking about, like, okay, is it going to be DJ? Oh my God! I just cannot pronounce his last name. So kill me.
You know DJU. Make it easy.
Let's go with that. DJU or Tony Jefferson. Like, there's no question of who you're keeping as far as the final roster spot goes. So it's more so from a standpoint of roster construction overall than it is about who's going to be QB3. But I honestly think that Trey Lance has even spoken about this himself, just as far as feeling rejuvenated, feeling elevated in with the Chargers. And again, that was with a Greg Roman-led offense. Show me how he's going to look as a backup in Mike McDaniels. I'm excited for it. But yes, only 2.
Molden probably has one more season to prove it. If he can't stay healthy, I'm pretty sure his cap hit goes down next year. I mean, I don't know if he has I don't think he's on the hot seat, but like, if he has a terrible year.
How much rope are we realistically giving Elijah Molden here? I think that we're too quick to forget that 2 years ago, when Joe Ortiz traded for him right before the season started, Elijah Molden was pivotal as far as being part of that 3 safety group, along with Alohi Gilman that Jesse Minter loved to run back there. And yes, he was injured last year, had a lot of ups and downs, did not have anywhere close to what he had during his 2024 campaign. But in terms of having a versatile safety group like that, I don't see him being a surprise cut whatsoever.
Me neither. Joe Ortiz make a trade at the trade deadline, says Eddie. So here's a question for you. Is there a cut candidate that could be used as a trade piece, and what position group could they trade for?
Cut candidate that could be used as a trade piece. I think you're meaning, is there a cut candidate or a player separate that could be used as a trade piece? You're saying like wait till they get cut or do it before?
No. Like if there's a trade, if there's someone who was like a cut candidate, could they be used as a trade?
Oh, you're saying from the Chargers. I got you.
Yeah. And would you just trade for draft capital?
Probably with who that we're talking about right now. If we're talking about the likes of Junior Colson, Darius Davis, anybody else that's a real viable cut candidate that's not necessarily deemed a surprise, what does that fetch you? Not much.
Like Dean, like what if a Dean Leonard gets traded for like?
It still doesn't fetch you much.
No, I know. But I'm saying like a day 3. Obviously, it'd be like a late day 3 pick.
Again, it's not going to net you much.
It's also hard because the other team knows you're probably going to cut him too.
Exactly.
That'd be tough.
It's gonna really depend on some of those guys because the Chargers are not going to be the only team that has this problem. You're going to hear a lot of teams talk about guys that are going to be pushed for their roster spots, and there will be some surprise cuts for sure. I think it was Dan and I have a mutual friend that's a Tennessee Titans fan who was more than shocked from the standpoint of when T.R. Tart was cut or when the Chargers traded for Elijah Molden and they started that whole Tennessee Titans to the Chargers pipeline that we saw happen over the last couple of years. It's going to have to be situations like that. As Joe Ortiz says, the work never stops. So do you get out in front of it? Do you trade draft capital the way that he has done the last couple of years? Obviously, none more beneficial than the Odafe Oweh trade at the early part of last year and the dividends that ended up making for you. I mean, I don't think that anything's off the table with Joe Ortiz. Right now, he has proven to me in his short tenure here, when Tom Telesco had 7 more years of time, that he is more capable of making trades than a previous regime, and he's won more times than he's lost on any of those type of trades. And whether we're talking free agency or the draft, he's done it. So I trust him to make the right necessary moves.
Emilio Huerta says we might need to sign a 5th edge. Hell, we might need to sign a 4th edge. Like, I think our top 3 are gold. I ain't messing with it. But after those 3, who are you confident can come in and there's not a massive, massive drop-off? Not Bud Dupree. You can't say you're confident in Kyle Kennard, even if you think the glow up is real. And Dame Tucker is a rookie, so that's going to be tough. Although the potential's there. There is no one other than those 3 right now.
You'd have to be talking about a surprise candidate that really opens some people's eyes for coming into being an edge 4. So who's going to be cutting who's loaded? Okay, this is how you'd have to ask it. If you want to answer this question and say, okay, who are we going to sign at edge 4? Who's loaded in the league at edge? There's
still edges that are veterans that are still out there.
I understand that, but who's loaded at edge that can afford to dump one of the more productive and proven guys, even as an edge 4? Who's it going to be? Because remember, even when Bud Dupree was signed, he wasn't, did he get starter snaps when he was in Pittsburgh? Yeah. But he was essentially really edge 3. So you have to find someone that's along that same type of level. So who's loaded?
Or free agents. There are some veteran free agents that are still there at edge, which we're getting off the rails here a little bit. But
Joey Bosa ain't coming back, so don't even start throwing that in the chat.
No.
Don't even start throwing that in the chat. I did not answer one of Dan's original questions a minute ago. If it's me and I'm saying which position group are they going to bring in, if we're talking about adding someone that is going to be a surprise cut, I think it's corner. I think that is the one variable that you look at. Even as much as I talked up that cornerback room, I still think that does not take the Chargers away from, again, cycling the bottom of the roster. And if there is a veteran out there that ends up being a surprise cut that can come in and be productive in a zone scheme the way that Chris O'Leary and Steve Klingscale are going to run, I think absolutely he looks at that. Again, I don't see anything being off the table, but that's probably the one that I would say would get most merit from me as far as what position to target.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Last question, Jake. Who's looking forward to the Kelsey reunion more, Derwin or Tier? Tier. I think it's Tier.
I think yeah. I think
salty.
First of all,
he's so salty.
First of all, I think Kelsey is looking forward to the Tyre Tart reunion a hell of a lot more than he's looking forward to Derwin James, because I think there's a lot less respect between Travis Kelsey and Tyre Tart than there is for Derwin James. Don't be surprised if you see him try to pull something very similar to what he pulled in that game just to get underneath his skin again. It would not surprise me in the least.
No, I agree. This was fun. Jake, went along today, but folks, y'all deserve it. Anything else, Jake, before we get on out of here for a Monday?
We are going to have plenty to talk about, and I promise you that, because we're going to basically have a month until we get any forward progress as it relates to the NFL season for 2026 happening. Chargers training camp officially gets underway in just under a month, so we got to wait till July. Everybody's taking their nice long vacations before training camp gets underway. We can finally start talking about a preseason ramp up and starting to make all these mock 53-man roster predictions and everything like that we want to. In general, we just need football back. I don't think that anybody's going to argue that point. But more importantly, Dan and I are going to get back to our regular schedule of things. That I will guarantee. And I promise, from the standpoint of it being the offseason, and I know things have been slow, especially since the draft for us, which is uncharacteristic given certain things. We're going to have plenty to talk about here over the next couple of weeks. Dan and I are very excited to get into some juicy topics. As Dan mentioned previously, some special guests as well. So looking forward to all of it. And of course, looking forward to sharing live shows with all of you the way that we do in times like this.
$10 donation, Jake, as we close out the show from TD4637. Thank you. Jake, first beer is on you, my friend. Thank you. James Wagner, great show. God bless. God bless you. Jake, thank you. This was fun. Appreciate all of you guys tuning in, and gals. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night from Chargers Unleashed. That's Jake. I'm Dan. We'll talk to you next time on Chargers Unleashed. See you later, folks. Bye.